Today I thought we would do a clay baking test. I want to see how the different brands of translucent clay I have on hand compare as far as translucency and getting them mixed into the other clays. So stay tuned and see how this all turns out. All right, like I said in the intro, we're doing a clay baking test today. Specifically, we're going to compare some translucent clays. So I was in need of translucent polymer clay the other day, and I decided to place an Instacart order to Michael's because the weather sucks right now. I think my high for today is -4 Fahrenheit. So I wasn't going to go out, so I decided to order an Instacart delivery from Michael's. And as I was looking at translucent clay, I saw they had Cernit. Now, I used to use Cernit years ago when I had a store I regularly shopped at that carried it, and I haven't used it in years. So I ordered my stuff, and this was delivered, and I started playing with it, and I thought, I did a clay baking test way back on the channel. Let me go look for that and see what I thought of it then. Just, you know, after I already had bought it, I decided to do that. And I couldn't find the video. And that's because way back in January of 2012, I had done a blog-only clay baking test with Cernit. So I decided it was time to do this as a video on the channel and to see if the clays have changed. So I have this. I have about a third of a package of let me back up a little bit so I can get more under this camera. I have about a third of a package of this Fimo white translucent, and I have Sculpey 3. I have this little tiny bit left. That's all I have. So I'm going to do a translucency test of these clays. I want to compare how these not only bake up alone and how they look alone, but I'm also going to mix with equal parts of black and red clays. That way I can see how they affect different colors. And I chose black and red for a couple of reasons. I chose red because red tends to be the color that I have the most problems with color shifting. It will turn kind of a funky color sometimes. If it gets too hot, if it isn't baked hot enough, it is baked too hot, it can change how it turns out. With black, I want to make sure that no matter which of these translucent clays I mix in, I end up with a true black and not a gray. Because, I mean, this looks really white. This looks really white. This looks, frankly, kind of beigey in the unbaked states. When I mix them with black, am I going to have a true black, or am I going to have like a dark gray? So I'm going to condition everything. I'm going to roll that out very thin. I'll come back and talk to you about that when I get it all rolled out and all cut and portioned. But I'm going to do that conditioning and portioning of the clay off camera. So I will see you when I get that accomplished. All right, so off camera, I prepared my baking surface by marking a paper plate, a circle in the middle, with 3 sections around the outside. The Cernit pieces are here, the Fimo are here, and the Sculpey 3 are here. And then for right now, my colored pieces are in the center. I rolled my clay all out with this roller. I cleaned it really well between clays. And I used these 2 pieces of, I think these are Hobby Lobby Slim Sticks. They were the thinnest thing I could find, and I had to use really thin. Number one, I want to really be able to see how translucent this clay is. So by having it as thin as possible, that will help. And this was the only way I could get 3 pieces out of the Sculpey 3. I cut circles with my smallest round clay cutter, and then I cut each one in half. So I'll be using pretty close to equal pieces of each clay in the mix. So I'm going to do one color on camera, and then I'll turn the camera off. I'll do the other colors, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about how they look. The Sculpey 3, let's start with Sculpey 3. So we're going to mix up, let's see, let's dole out one of these to each one first. That way I know what I've got. All right, and then we'll keep one of each of those in the center just so we can compare the ones that are mixed with the translucent clays with the original clay. So all it is a matter of combining these thoroughly. And after each color especially, go through and wash your hands. Clean them really, really well, whether with a wet wipe or wash them with soap and water. Get as much of that dye off as possible. All right, then what I'm going to do, and I said off camera when I do this, I'll be doing it one color at a time. Then I'm going to roll it out the same thickness as I've got those half pieces to start with. That will give us the most, I think, consistent results. And then that will be dropped back in the Sculpey 3 area. All right. Now, get a wet wipe. Get some of that red, most of that red clay off if I can. Dry my hands off and get the black. Now, the idea is you need to mix until there's no streaks of the two colors. You don't want streaks of the translucent amongst streaks of black. You want a consistent color throughout, so you know that everything is mixed thoroughly. And so I am going to go ahead and roll this out to the same thickness. I will clean my hands again. I'll go through and get all of these mixed. The Fimo mixed with its two colors, the Cernit mixed, rolled out, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about how the different clays reacted as I mixed them. So I'll be right back. All right, all the clays are combined and rolled back out to the same thickness. As far as ease of combining the colors, the Sculpey 3 was by far the easiest to combine. And I think we've all worked with Sculpey. The Cernit is a fairly soft clay. I don't want to touch any clean clay right now because I haven't cleaned my hands thoroughly from doing the red. But it's almost got a slippery texture, and because of that, it was a little harder to get it combined evenly with the red and the black, especially with the black on that one. The Fimo is more firm and also harder to combine than the Sculpey, but easier than the Cernit. But it did streak quite a bit. I did have to work with it to get rid of the streaks. So I'm going to bake these. I'm going to give them a thorough curing of 10 minutes at about 225 in my oven. I've talked about it before when I do clay projects. The oven I have in my apartment the temperature tends to spike up a bit. By setting it at 225, I know it's not going to go over the safe temperature for any of my clays. When you are baking multiple brands of clay, be sure and check the temperature recommendation on the package of clay and don't go any higher than the lowest of the clay temperatures the clays give you. So if you're baking one that says 275 and one that says 235, bake no higher than 235. So I'm going to bake these and I'm going to bring them back to room temperature before I come back and look at them, because they can change a little bit as they cool, as they firm up. So when these are baked and cooled to room temperature, I'll come back and we'll talk about how translucent everything got. All right, these have baked and cooled, and the blacks, first let's look at the blacks. The blacks all look, let's see, I think the same. They're the same color of black as the black by itself. I'm kind of holding them up to the light. You don't really see, of course, you wouldn't see through the colored clays at this ratio. How about the red? Looks like the red has kept its color also. So for the colored clays, any of them would be fine. Let's look at transparency, and that's one of the reasons I wrote the names like this. Sculpey 3. You don't really see much through there. The Fimo. Fimo, you can see the letters a little bit. And let's see what we get. And the Cernit, you actually do see the letters. I think a little bit more. I'm trying to not put my head over the screen, but it is more translucent. I think overall I like working with the Cernit better, and hopefully the camera's picking that up. I am going to take a picture of this and put it on the blog post for you, and I'll have more of my thoughts about the clay on the blog post, so be sure and hop over there and check it. Thank you very much for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed and you enjoy my content, be sure and hit the subscription button and the notification bell. I'm hoping to be back on track to producing videos. I talked a little bit on Facebook about why I took a break. If you're interested in that, you can go over and check out the Facebook post on the Facebook group. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.